You're listening to ControlTalk Now, the Smart Buildings Podcast.
With the man, the myth, the legend. Ken Smyers and Eric Stromquist.
ControlTalk Now, the weekly podcast with building automation and smart building control news you can use.
Now, here's Eric.
Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings VideoCast and Podcast for the week ending December 6, 2015. We were out for Thanksgiving last week, and I am pleased, as usual, to welcome the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. The one, the only, I already said that, but I'll do it again. Kenny Smyers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Oh, thank you so much, Eric. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a great show. I'm already excited. We did all our prep work. We've got some fabulous things to talk about. And why don't we just do a quick happy Thanksgiving summary. How was your Thanksgiving? How'd you do? And,
dude, I tell you what, we went to Arizona. And I tell you, traveling with two small kids, for our listeners who might not know, I have a daughter, Evelyn, who's 3, and a son, Axel, who is 7 months. And they're great kids, but 2 kids on a 3-hour flight. And then Anna's brother has a small child too. So we were all in the same house together. Dude, it was work. I was so glad to get back so that, I think I'd rather do manual labor and it's not that I don't love my kids and all, because I do, but it is like there is not a break at all. But I'm very thankful for the kids, thankful for the opportunity. And overall, it's good to be back. It was a good time. What about yourself?
Oh, I had a very nice Thanksgiving. Went over to my brother Jesse's house and had delicious turkey dinner. And
who's the best cook out of you Smyers boys? Because for our listeners who might know, Kenny comes from a fairly large family. Jesse's one of his brothers. Who's the best cook out of you guys?
Oh, I got to go with my wife, Rita. Are you kidding me?
No, out of you guys. I know your wife, Rita, definitely is the best cook.
I'm a cook. I think I'm not a great cook, but I enjoy cooking. So I'm just answering that on impulse. Me, of course. Of course.
Well, and we talk a lot about the theme about co-competition. But
co-competition.
And you used to tell me that if you had such a big family that if there was a dozen donuts, man, somebody was not going to get a donut when it was put on the table at the Smyers house.
That's correct. So. You learned to take advantage of your age and your long arms and move, your anticipation. So we were a highly competitive family. It wasn't quite that bad, but we used to go through 2 gallons of milk. Just 7 boys, 4 girls. It was quite an episode. Plus our parents, and then we had 2 Great Danes in the near. So anything you didn't want to eat, you could always hand off to a Great Dane to your right or left under the table. But
I got you, man. Well, hey, Kenny, it's good to be back, man. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot of great guests this week. So sort of preview the show for our listeners, and then let's hop right into it. What do you say?
Well, Eric, because of Thanksgiving, we missed their Control Talk Now last week. And then subsequently, there were 5 or 6 posts there that were good posts, but we're going to be brief and informative. And we just always plead, the case that this stuff is on the website. Please go to it because there's a lot of good information. The fact that some of these will be brief doesn't mean they're not important. It's just more directional. And as we open it up, we've got a great guest, Ken Sinclair. We got a great guest with
John
Cory
D. Morris, right? Yeah.
John D. Morris. We have Ask a Control Expert. So we've got maybe 8 posts we need to talk about and 4 special events, people or events that we just like doing. It's a Control Talk Now, so it's going to be a lot of information. We're going to move quick. And
it's rock and roll, big dog.
Oh, good. The first one's like the Open ADR Alliance. It's just easing peak load stress during systems upgrades. Well, people are giving away information. If it does appeal to you as an interest or does apply to you as a business, visit the post. They've got a seminar coming up, and it's one of the ones you don't want to miss because it explains how you ease your peak load stress during system upgrades.
Absolutely. And then real quick for our listeners out there who know, the Kenny sort of movement there is not a visual effect that I'm putting on. As you guys probably know, we're at the mercy of Skype, and he's coming in very, very clear. But as you guys probably are noticing, there's a little bit of sort of weird action there. That's not Kenny doing the head bob. That's just Skype. But hey, you sounded good, buddy, and you'll always be beautiful to me, man. So what do we have up next, man?
All right, next up we had Thermokonâ. Thermokonâ's new STC BACnet IP M902 megahertz in-ocean radio transceiver. Now, this is really good stuff. David Alaban keeps us constantly in the loop of the new technologies that Thermokonâ is embracing and introducing into the North American market. The 902 in-ocean transceiver radio transceiver gives us more power. It's a more dynamic, more robust network. Thermokonâ's new and dynamic bidirectional gateway for in-ocean-based sensors, actuators, controllers, and control systems with a BACnet IP interface. Commissioning, configuration, using the EasySense AirConfig software tool. That's a free software tool they give, and it just gives us opportunities to be more competitive and more, the approach that we take, the solutions we provide. Now we have more arrows in the quiver. So it's a good product, good post.
Well, it's a great post. And I tell you what I'm missing from Thermokonâ, Kenny, you remember we used to post their video commercials. Those European video commercials were always really pretty racy and spicy. Hadn't seen one of those in a while, David. You're letting us down, man. We want to see one of those European sensor commercials where the people are going, the beautiful women are going around and turning their spas on and off wirelessly or whatever. So,
right, BMW not included is the post. Visit that Control Trends.
Yeah, and Thermokonâ is a sponsor for the 2015 Control Trends Awards, Kenny. They're up for a couple of awards, so be sure to check them out. And by the way, the ballots are up, so you can begin to start voting now if you want to, and feel free to send that ballot on to anybody in your network. Just like with the nominations, you do have to go give us your email address and company name so we can make sure that somebody's not stuffing the voting ballots, but we're here. So thanks to Thermokonâ with that. And Kenny, I think that probably brings us to our first guest, huh?
Sure does. All right, Eric, our first guest is a very special person. He is the owner, editor of AutomatedBuildings.com. I'd like to introduce and invite Ken Sinclair to the show. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Hey, Ken, welcome.
Ken, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but the first order of business is your Automated Buildings December release. We're talking about the AHR Expo 2016, some of the important facets you have there. We also have your theme was transformational change for automation. So let's just kind of start off with tell us a little bit about your December release.
Yeah, we've actually got a good reception to it. We hit social media hard, both LinkedIn, Twitter. And we actually got it on the front of the AHR Expo website as we did the Control Trends Awards. So
awesome.
There's about 10,000 folks following that Twitter feed. So it's becoming more and more obvious that social media is the way automated buildings and control trends are going to interface with the industry.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ken, I mean, good job. I mean, who would have thought that old dogs like me, you, and Kenny Smyers could sort of get into this whole social media things, but man, you're a Twitter guy now. Real quick for our audience out there, what is your Twitter handle?
Ken at Sinclair.
Ken at Sinclair. Okay, so be sure to check.
Sorry, well, I'm sorry. I said it wrong. See? I'm not that. It's at Ken _Sinclair.
Well, so you guys be sure to follow Ken on Twitter. And as you know, if you listen to Control Trends at all, you know that Kenny and I have a lot of respect for Ken and what he does. And I tell you, it's a great source for what's going on in the automated world, automated buildings world. And Ken, talk about the theme this month of automated buildings. You always have a theme every month.
Transformational change. Yeah, that's it's been peaking out for the last couple of months, and it's the focus of our education sessions in Orlando. So that's why we put it as tied it together with our preview issue in December. It really is a head shake what is going on in the industry now. This whole movement to IT. We're into the next level of moving to IT. The first year ago, we were actually just big data and pushing stuff into the cloud and into deep analytics. But we're actually starting to see the evolution of artificial intelligence, looking at data completely different, using the true power of IT, which is pretty exciting. And we have some amazing articles about that and interviews. Two of them I'd call folks to read is the Future of IT, which is from KMC, and they're talking a little bit about their union with Intel and Dell Computer, which is kind of interesting, and also the transformational change for the evolution of the user experience with Greg Barnes from Active Logic. He does a great job of showing how many people are now involved in our automated buildings. This is a kind of a new field for us all too, is that we're touching a whole lot of people that we didn't touch before. So that article does a good job of explaining who those folks are and provides some great graphics. Sure
does, Ken. I'll tell you what, it's a great sampling of all the intelligence in our industry. We have direct links on the Control Trends article on it. You've got some great submissions. You got Greg Barnes, Brad White, Dr. Igor Metzik, John Morris from Ecorithmâ, Albert Putnam, John Petsy, Mark Peacock, Jim O'Callahan, Tree Sullivan, Alan McHale, and Rick Rolston. And you talk about an all-star. This reminds me, we always talk about all-stars and superstars, and this is a gathering of very, very intelligent, active people that are really setting the pace in our industry.
Yeah, what amazes me is they all come to me from all over the place, all over the world, actually. And there was a few from the UK there that you stopped reading before we got to, but they are saying a similar story. In fact, it always blows me away that the theme does get supported and often is set from the summation of the articles. And they've all got their unique twist on it, but everybody's pretty excited about what's happening with our transition into IFB.
Ken, are there any major players that you see that have sort of are embracing the artificial intelligence aspect of it, that are some existing players, or are they coming outside of our industry into our industry?
I think it's going to come from outside of our industry into our industry because a lot of folks are, one of the articles refers it to, the self-driving car, auto helm for aircraft. I mean, we've been landing 747s for 20 years automatically. So there's an awful lot of intelligence and folks that actually know how to do that. So I think it's going to be a collaboration of our industry and those type of the folks that have that kind of information. But it's going to be a new uncharted territory for us all. So it's going to be exciting to see how that all plays out. Ecorithmâ article, Turning Big Data into Building Intelligence, turned out to be very well received. And it's interesting how there's two things that caught my interest in that article. The idea of a building whisperer. I didn't realize that when I was a consultant in the industry that I was truly a building whisperer. And actually my greatest asset was not particularly what I knew, but my ability to go into a building and throw away all of the symptoms that people said were the problem and actually find the problem because I had some insight from some of the other buildings I'd kicked around in. So it was an important concept that kind of intelligence was being brought to the artificial intelligence field. And then they showed how by turning this into almost barcode patterns, we can maybe do a better job of quickly analyzing faults within our building. Interesting article.
Very interesting. I think we've got an interview scheduled with him later in the week, so we'll hopefully get him on the show. But Ken, you also were out at CoreTech, and you covered that in the article too. And to be very interested, your take on CoreTech. And I know one of the points that you brought up in this week's issue is it's almost like the owners now have so many choices, right? I mean, there's so many different solutions. I think you said there were 50, or somebody in the article said there were 50 sort of valid, proven, I guess, vendors that are playing in this field right now, and over 750 different solutions. But speak a bit, if you would, about that and how an owner gets through that to make the best decision, and then also what else you saw at CoreTech.
Yeah, well, the CoreTech event was a great event, actually. I was pleased to go down. The Silicon Valley is always interesting because it's a bit of future watch and seeing what folks are doing. it was pointed out several times, though, that we have to be careful when we're using it as a model because sometimes its financial drivers aren't quite the financial drivers we're used to seeing. And one of the points is their money is earned very quick and comes to them in copious amounts. And actually, one of their best investments is just reinvesting back into their real estate because it's actually real. I thought that was an interesting comment that came out of the hall, so I hadn't really thought about it much, but interesting for sure. But there's no doubt they're doing some pretty neat things. And then to speak to the myriad of solutions, yes, that is a problem. What I'm kind of finding that Jim Young has real concerns about that. I have less concerns about that. What I'm sort of seeing is that the final analysis, it's the people who can actually pull all of this stuff together. And because there's so much of a change required, the solutions are going to have to be implemented by a whole bunch of people. And it's likely those people will be smaller companies rather than larger companies because there's going to need to be a people solution. We're going to have to work with the existing organization and see how all of this IT stuff is going to fit with their enterprise. And there was talk of that as well at CoreTech, is the meshing of the enterprise and building automation. It has to become pretty much one, become one identity.
Very, very cool. Well, Ken, we're going to probably have to wrap it up here in just a few seconds, but talk to our audience about your big event that you're doing down at AHR, the collaboratory, who's going to be there, what you guys are going to cover, and who's invited.
Okay, well, this is our 17th year of doing these pre-education sessions. We didn't talk about the fact that Control Trends Awards is going to recognize AHR Expo for their amazing support. Thank you guys for that. That is just fantastic. And AHR has supported Automated Buildings, as I mentioned, for 17 years, providing us a free venue so we can provide you free education. And those sessions have always been fun, reasonably well attended, but a lot of interaction, a lot of discussion, and we're looking forward to that again. Our presenters this year are Brad White, and Brad, of course, is one of your original young guns, and he's looking forward to helping you out with the presentations at CTA. And Brad's quick comment is, so if it's not the devices themselves, what is it about IoT that is transformational? Pauses and says, buildings that teach themselves. So that's an interesting concept. Yes. Jim Sinopoli says, eventually we will have almost self-managed buildings where the systems can optimize themselves, self-heal, and not only identify faults or failures, but compensate and reconfigure the system to minimize the impact of the systems. So that's my speakers. So I really can't wait to hear what they are going to say. And in addition to that, we have Paul Oswald, who has just been made part of the global CRDE organization. And he's again talking about we've got to get the people into our industry to make this all happen. So looking forward to that. Got Andy McMillan committed to speak to that. We've got Mark Pettock. We've got John Petsy, and Jim from Inocean, and Paul Oswald are our thought leaders for this year. So again, a real line of superstars. We're looking forward to Control Trends filming that again, because that's been a good capture of the resource. So I'm looking forward, because that's going to go a lot of directions. The theme of that, of course, is the transformational change as well. So lots happening in Orlando. If you're there, come on out and join us.
It sure is, and I think Eric and I would like to make a call. First, we're delighted that 86 years of dedicated service by the AHR Expo. I mean, it's about time we give these guys some good recognition, and also that how the AHR show rejuvenates our industry top to bottom. I mean, if people are interested in keeping up with our trends and everything, but the AHR show is in a great place, location, Orlando. It's going to be warm, so I think everybody should be there, and everybody should take advantage of these opportunities that Ken St. Clair and his group was given for education. These are free sessions, right, Ken?
That's correct.
And we'll post them. We'll post the times and dates on Control Trends, and of course, you can get them on AutomatedBuildingsâ.com. I'm sure Ken, as well as the AHR program. And of course, if you're following Ken St. Clair, that's at Ken St. Clair on Twitter. Ken will be tweeting those things too. So definitely check him out and follow Ken St. Clair.
Great. Awesome.
Hi. Hey, Ken, thanks so much for the update this week. Again, check out AutomatedBuildingsâ.com. The December issue is out and about. Ken, we will see you hopefully the 1st of January to talk about the January issue. And of course, if you're going to Orlando, you can come see the superstars at the Control Trends Awards, and definitely want to check out Ken's events. Ken, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk with us today.
Thanks.
That's good stuff as always from Ken St. Clair, huh, Kenny?
Sure is.
What we have up next, big dog?
All right, next we have an important product post. Actually, it's kind of a couple from Neptronicâ. These guys are HVAC products and solutions, have been providing products and solutions since 1976. Just briefly, Neptronicâ is a private corporation that designs, manufactures, and distributes HVAC products and solutions. They have introduced a really, really cool multi-app TUCB 24 wall mount universal controllers. And, Luis Malgares, one of the hardest working sales managers in the business, told us that they had something very special that they wanted to release. And of course, it's going to be featured at the AHR show in Orlando. But this thing, you talk about cool looking thermostat, cool looking zone controllers. Again, this is one of those ones where you don't really say thermostat or we kind of mix and match that. But this is a wall mounted controller with built-in temperature sensor and scheduler. This unit is designed for simple and accurate control of a heat pump, heating and cooling equipment, and it's field configurable. So it's just a versatile implementation of all the major control sequences, and it's friendly, and it's got some huge outputs. It's got two inputs. It has input output. It's amazing. It has two binary inputs, so your DOs. It has two AIs, analog inputs, 6 configurable binary outputs, so 6 DOs, and then 2 configurable analog 0 to 10 outputs. So, I mean, this thing is multi application worthy. It can handle a great deal of those standard zone applications, and of course, it is BACnet. So I mean, communications. These guys got it down. Automatic baud rate detection for BACnet MSTP. You can select the MAC address. Anything you'd expect out of this kind of a controller. These guys have looked into it and provided it.
It's cool stuff. Really like those guys up here a lot. Be sure to go to ControlTrends.org. You can check it out. There'll be a spec sheet on there. You can get more information. Hopefully get Luis on to maybe show us a little bit more about that particular device. All right, Kenny Smyers, what do we have up next, big dog?
All right. Next up, we have something that's very near and dear to our hearts. And this is tying into the Control Trends Awards down here in Atlanta, January 24th, 6:30 to 9:30.
In Orlando.
At the Hard Rock Live,
which is not just a restaurant. That is the pavilion where people like John Bon Jovi play and
Tom Petty.
And as a matter of fact, we got a great deal because they said if we can get the man, the myth, the legend to be on our stage, this will be so good for us.
Okay. I think Eric, what happens is Eric, you do such a good job down there. They're going to want you to stay on as part of their staff and be their default MC. Well, no, but this is really important. We're very, concerned about the sustaining our industry. We're very concerned about why our industry is not sexy enough, and we'll be talking about that later on with an interview. How we can draw more talent to our industry to ensure that a very important industry is serviced properly. We need more intelligent men and women starting out in our career early, become mechanical, minded, become technicians, and evolve in the career field. Because there's so many directions to go. We've got all the sexy IoT stuff now. We've got all the graphics. We've got data visualization, artificial intelligence. I mean, we're moving a grip as an industry. We need more young guns. So we are calling out for young gun submissions. We have 4 really solid contenders. But again, a young gun is a professional under the age of 30 early in their career, it's already made an important contribution or significant impact within their organization that will serve as a career role model. So as an industry, we need this. Please help us recognize the people early on in their career so that they can be the role models that draw more young talent to our industry.
Very well said, Kenny. Very well said. It's going to be really exciting this year, and we'll have our second class of young guns. We had the first class last year, and actually we had a video that you can see the inaugural class of young guns, and we'll have another video for the second class. All right, Kenny, it's time for our next segment, which is...
It's time for Ask a Controls Expert. Ken and Eric reach out to the global Control Trends community to get your controls questions answered. Now, here's your controls question of the week.
All right, Kenny, tell us about our controls question of the week.
All right, Eric, here it is.
Hello, Ken. This is Jim from Pittsburgh, and I was wondering, could you explain to me where we would use a pressure-independent control valve versus just a straight-up ball valve? I have an application, and I was trying to find an answer. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, Jim, we reached out to our worldwide Control Trends community, and we've come up with Josh Felpern from Siemens to answer your question. Josh, what can you tell us about why you should use a PIC valve?
So the question is, why choose a pressure-independent control valve over a standard control valve? And that's a great question. We get that asked of us all the time. And pressure-independent control valve technology is not new. It was developed over 20 years ago by Flow Control Industries out of Seattle, Washington. Right when VFDs started to come into existence, they wanted to create a way to make the valve independent of the system's pressure. And pressure-independent control valve is a great selection here. As it's three devices in one. You've got not only your valve body, your control valve, but you also have a differential pressure regulator and a flow limiter, which allows you to dial in your GPM. Instead of selecting a CV, you simply select the correct GPM. And pressure-independent control valves, depending on the size, from a 1/2 inch to 6.5 inches or to 6 inches, give you a wide range of flow rates. So you can dial in your GPM, make sure you don't overflow your coil, and maintain your system's pressures. So the main operational features of a PIC valve are accurate flow control, gives you high rangeability over a wide range of flow rates, eliminates the need for system balancing due to pressure-independent operation, also enhances the system's delta T performance, which results in optimizing overall system efficiency and saving your customer money. So the short answer, as far as installing a pressure-independent control valve over a pressure-dependent two-way control valve like a glow valve or ball valve, which is typically used in a variable flow system, it's the best of both worlds. So you're getting PIC valves going to integrate that differential pressure regulator, which is going to eliminate any differential pressure variation across the control valve. And lastly, it's going to offer you a much better delta T performance, which is going to reduce the flow to serve system load. So hope that was the answer you were looking for, and really appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Hey, Josh, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it. Jim, thank you for the question. If you have a question to ask a controls expert, you can either go to controltrends@gmail.com. So there you go, Kenny, another segment of Ask a Controls Expert.
Awesome.
All right, so special thanks to Josh Felpern for that. You can see Josh and the rest of the team Siemens at the 2015 Control Trends Awards, and a special thanks to Siemens, who are platinum sponsors. Without people like Siemens being platinum sponsors, Kenny and I cannot hire the models that will be at the 2015 Control Trends Awards.
Eric Stromquist.
What we have up next, big dog?
Yeah, Warren. CY FinStack has systems integrators talking. Now, this has two important aspects to it. Number one, what's really cool is the streaming. And you got to tell us how you get in this technology and how I see this making a big impact. I think that Stromquist Control Trends TV is awesome, and I see big things in the future. But how are you getting that together? So you can take anybody can bring them into town, put them in your room, your studio, do a real live training session and then connect the rest of the world. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, anybody can do it if you want to spend about 40 grand in equipment and about 100 hours of making a bunch of mistakes. But yeah, we've got it set up, and especially with help from guys like Mike Bonner and Rob Allen at Stromquist and Company. But essentially, we've got sort of a state-of-the-art training facility, and what Scott Mensch did, you can actually get an idea for the quality of this. He basically came in. We had systems integrators that were local in our training room. We had several systems integrators that were remote that had a room full of their technicians or their engineers. And actually, we blasted it all over the world, so anybody could have tuned in on that, and lots of people did. So, and then we're able to archive it. So what you'll actually see on Control Trends Now is the archive. So the advantage of watching it live is we monitor a chat room. So if you have a question, you can ask a question. We can ask the instructor. You can't really do that with the archive, but you can still see it. So we have the archive version up on Control Trends Now. But we see that as being more and more. And as a matter of fact, Kenny, I think that if you wanted to not miss a live event, a couple of things, we'll probably put up a link on Control Trends. We don't have it yet, where you can give us your email address and we can email you when we're going to have these live streams, or you can follow me at Eric Stromquist or Ken at Ken Smyers on Twitter, and we'll tweet those things out so you can take advantage of it. But it's real simple from your end. Basically, you've got an internet connection. You just go to Control Trends, you click on the box, you're in, you're watching the live training. But we're going to do more and more of that. We have more vendors that are interested in doing that. So they can instantaneously reach out and touch the globe, if you will. So I know a lot of our friends in India follow these live streams as well as all over the world. So that's sort of how that works.
Alrighty, and what about that fin training itself? So I know that Scott is one of those passionate guys. I know he's, from the experience we had over there at EasyIO, the global conference in Paris, I got a chance to watch Scott up close and personal, how he's really into the fin stack and the easy stack, and he really believes in the tagging, and he's done a lot of his own work, but fin stack is really FinStat 3.0 is the next generation software suite, including an entirely new application server called the FinStat. Your guys were there. Tell us a little bit about why are they so excited?
Well, I think they're excited, Kenny, because and Scott came up with the term in Paris. I was trying to remember it as you were talking about it, like magic easy or something like that. It was a term that sort of describes it, and it almost is like magic. I mean, if you're an integrator, your big cost in providing this is a lot of times the time it takes to link things up, the time it takes to do the points. So they build all kinds of subroutines in there. So I think one of the things that people are really excited about is you can get beautiful graphics, beautiful connections, and the cost to do it, the time to do it, the labor to do it as an integrator is reduced substantially. So cool. I would encourage our community to go check that out. It's a lunch and learn. It's about an hour and a half. You can really get a feel for FinStack and what that's all about and why systems integrators are excited about it. A very special guest on the phone. Tell us who we got on the phone right now, Kenny.
A special guest and a very interesting fellow. We have John D. Morris, Vice President of Marketing and Sales for Ecorithmâ, proud recipient of the Frost & Sullivan Visionary Innovation Leadership Award. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, John, thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Well, listen, John, give our listeners and viewers a little background on what you guys do and how you got started, and then tell us about your partner. And, we're setting this up. We're going to have a full-blown interview here in the next week or so. But tell us what you do and a little bit about your background.
Sure. So the co-author of the article on automated buildings is Dr. Ecorithmâ, who is a professor of mechanical engineering at UC Santa Barbara, and he is the progenitor of everything that we do here at Ecorithmâ. Obviously, it's been commercialized very heavily over the last 4 years as we became a company in 2011. But Igor is a gentleman that is one of the world's preeminent experts in mechanical engineering, fluid mechanics, and all things like that. The original technology that Ecorithmâ relies on is a set of algorithms that originally designed to optimize jet engines. And A jet engine, if you think about it, is a few meters long by a couple meters wide. You take that standing on a 10, make it a block wide by a block long and 70 stories high, and you basically have a commercial building if you're relying on pure physics to make the world go around.
So John, that's really cool. So you had a very interesting background. You kind of got started in lawn and echelon, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. I spent the first half of my career in the electrical contracting business, and when we did the Chiat Day virtual office, Echelon plucked me out of an electrical contractor in Los Angeles and brought me up to the Bay Area for my first dip into the technology arena. They were looking for somebody that knew how to put together a building, but also had the technical chops, and so that's how I wound up in doing tech startups now for 22 years.
Wow!
So that was the beginning of what was going to be the second half of my career.
Really, really cool. Well, what attracts you about the new company you're with now? Tell us about how that technology maybe differs from anything you've been involved with before.
It's very different. I was relying on the embedded side for the most part. I did Zigbee, I did Lawnworks, I did a bunch of other startups. This one is very special. So in technology, we rely, you say that humans can engineer anything. And, if you just throw enough money and enough people at any problem, you can solve the problem. What's unique about this is that it's not reliant on people. People obviously have to write the software, but it's reliant on the laws of nature and how atoms interact with other atoms and thermal transfers happen in a very predictable way. And then leveraging that to be able to scale massively. You can do the smallest building in the world, biggest building in the world, the most under control building in the world, or the most instrumented building in the world, and to our software, it's all the same. And you can do one building, or you can do 1 million buildings, and it's the same thing. The contrast to that is that the rules-based guys that have to put somebody in and program every building separately doesn't scale like this does.
So you're saying yours is like artificial intelligence. Once it's built, it just it figures things out.
Absolutely, and it learns as it goes. In that, you can have a something that would originally turn up as a finding. Let's say there's some unusual usage. Perhaps there's a corner of a building that has an unusual pattern. Let's say it's a laboratory and there are people that come in at night. And that would normally stand out as an out of schedule event. Our system will learn that, wait a minute, that suite in that building operates at night, unlike everything else around it, and will adjust accordingly. So it becomes a self-learning kind of situation where those faults will go away over time because it seemed to be normal behavior.
Hey, John. Well, so that's your. I just wanted to give the listeners a little background again about the major scientific contribution in this field has been the development of an operator theoretic method for the analysis of complex dynamical systems that led to a massive number of applications in build big data dynamics. A term that Dr. Mezek coined. But tell us real quick about the building whisperer. I think that's where you were leading to.
Sure. So the difference is, with a building whisperer, they learn. Humans are very good about learning about what's going on around us. So if you're living in a building for 10, 20, 25 years, you'll learn the idiosyncrasies of the building just like you'll learn the behavior of your kid. And so they can have a problem pop up and go, oh, well, that's probably this particular air handler behaving in this particular way because it's on the outside of the building and it has extra things associated with it that are not normal to the rest of the air handlers in the building. And so they can sort the wheat from the chaff in terms of what's really wrong versus what's just kind of normal function for that mechanical system.
Awesome.
You take that guy and you take him outside that building. He doesn't know anything. And so you start the learning curve over again in another building. Which, if you're a REIT, that's typical behavior, right? I mean, they buy and sell buildings like we trade baseball cards when we were kids.
Well, I think you're right, John. And I think the thing is, from what we read about artificial intelligence, it's the next big wave, because tasks that require observation and logical deductions, humans can get distracted, right? Or they can get certain biases, which you're not going to get with artificial intelligence. So that's what you're really talking about, is introducing that component in. So it's got to be more efficient at a certain level, but then there's certain things that probably, getting back to Kenny's point, a guy like Ken Sinclair might pick up on something that the algorithm hasn't learned yet. So it seems like to be are you guys able to capture, like, let's say, the knowledge that a Ken Sinclair has and include that in your artificial intelligence package?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we do in the software side of things is we encounter different types of equipment and different kinds of configurations that the laws of physics are always the same. But, for example, we were in a facility not too long ago where we hadn't encountered heat pumps that were living above the ceiling, and they were all over the building. That was the primary mechanical system. And these things were being exercised at a very, very high rate, meaning that they were short cycling, and they were having issues where the heat pumps would literally burn themselves up, make a lot of smoke, shut down a major corporate call center, and everybody heads out to the parking lot. And our system was able to discern what the issues were that were causing the problem with the heat pumps, and solve the issue.
Awesome.
Because we're looking for frequency behaviors in a particular device, and could be a damper that is oscillating at a higher rate of speed than would be normally expected in a building that has a base frequency that is a lot slower. That kind of issue is what pops up in our solution, and we have the ability to discern which device is actually causing the oscillation. You might have a VAV box doing it, and then look at the air handler, and that's doing it, and finding your way back to, let's say, a chiller that has an oscillating temperature of the chilled water, and that's throwing everything else in the building off.
Right. Well, John, shifting gears real quick, tell our listeners a little bit about what we can expect when you get your partner on for another interview. We're getting that set up. Talk to us about Igor and what we can expect on the next interview.
Right. So Igor is a very special guy. He is a world recognized expert in fluid mechanics and physics as it applies to mechanical systems. The original technology was designed that we've licensed from UC Santa Barbara and designed by Igor and his team was designed to optimize jet engines. And so you take the jet engine and you apply it to buildings because, again, you've got things spinning and metal and heat transfer and fluids and fuels in a jet engine. It transfers directly across to here. Igor goes through he's had a long career of consulting with government agencies and other folks. He was involved in this is front page New York Times. He and his team were involved in actually figuring out where the oil went, the BP oil spill, a few days after it happened. I believe it's a few days, but he'll correct you when we actually talk about it. But an extraordinary guy with an extraordinary background, and I know the listeners are going to be on the edge of their seats as he goes through some of the things that he's done over the course of his career.
Can't wait for that, John. In the meantime, how do our viewers and listeners get hold of you? You got a website they can go to check some more out about you guys?
Yep, www.ecorhythm.com. That's ECORITHM.com. And if you want to take a look at the article, it's on Ken Sinclair's site at automatedbuildingsâ.com.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it. Perfect. John, listen, man, thank you so very, very much. We look forward to getting with you and Igor here probably next week sometime. So thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us.
Sounds like a plan. Looking forward to it, guys.
All right, Kenny, what do we have up next, big dog?
Okay, now we got some serious stuff here. We have SMARTCOREâs complimentary online threat assessment survey. This was done by Mr. Fred Gordy in conjunction with SMARTCORE, and it's a criticality and threat assessment. And so I tell you what, we have asked people to help us spread the word, get people some good starting points on cybersecurity, good products. Tell us about them so we can feature them on Control Trends. Well, Fred's taken us to the next level, along with SMARTCORE, and they've come up with a CAT, a criticality and threat assessment. And SMARTCORE will translate your answers to a short survey into a threat assessment scorecard, as well as a prescriptive cyber risk mitigation plan that we can help to implement and strengthen your defense against attacks. And risk mitigation measures could include hardware, software, network solutions, modifications, standard operating procedures and protocols, facilitate education, change management, and cultural shift programs. So you've got to get on this thing. You've got to take a good look at it. Take the survey. It's free. And then you can tell the people you work with, you can sleep at night saying, okay, I've started a process, a very important process, because part 2 of this was Fred sent us an email in the course of the week where the University of Rochester's Medical Center was fined $15,000 and had to initiate a corrective action plan that's going to cost a lot of money. I see numbers here. I don't want to talk about it, but it affected 3,400 patients. So what's happening now, like Fred predicted, there's going to be sledgehammers coming down on your organization if you don't get with the programs and do something to mitigate cyber attacks and threats. And that is you could be held liable by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, by the people that control data. You're responsible to control the data. And if you don't do it effectively, you're in trouble. So Great post. Please visit it. Fred invites everybody that, to take a look at it, use what you can. If you need more help or you want to talk in greater detail, of course, they're there to service you. But thank you very much, Fred Gordy.
Very good stuff, Fred. Yeah, definitely check that out.
All right, Eric, now we're going to get down into another very important customer connection from Tridium. Thank you to Ed Merwin and Scott Baim. They pump out some good information, but some of the most exciting stuff coming out in the very near future. It's been out. The Niagara 4 has been released. The software versions are already they're selling. And then's coming this big JACE 8000. And they're talking about this in terms of a debut. And I can tell you from N4 training, the crossover training, this JACE 8000 is for real. It's going to be big, fast, strong, easier, simplified. The ordering process has been simplified. The formidability of the controller itself, they've got an SD card there now, and this thing's ready to rock and roll. And the cool thing about the Tridium JACE 8000, the Niagara framework, is the ecosystem. People are taking this controller now, and what comes as a complementary service tray of features and benefits. You have the dashboards, charting, analytics, all built into the one N4 software platform with the JACE 8000. Very formidable.
It's very, very cool. All right, Kenny Smyers. As you know, we got the Control Trends Awards going on. We got 2 very, very special guests today, and we are talking about the systems integrated in the world. So, Kenny, give a brief introduction. Well, I'll tell you what, I want to introduce Scott Twomey, because I've known Scott for a while. Scott is with Temperature Control Systems out of Dallas, Texas. Arguably one of the most knowledgeable, nicest, and we accuse him of being the funniest guy in the controls industry. Great personality, great sense of humor. So Scott Twomey is from Temperature Controls out of Dallas, Texas. And Scott, one of our finalists for the Systems Integration Award, Systems Integrator of the Year Award, Kenny. Real quick, we'll let Scott tell more about the company, but tell us who our finalist is there.
I'd love to, Eric. As you know, we've introduced a new category this year, the Systems Integrator of the Year. And it was an amazingly interesting category because it was very, very well participated. For manufacturers, distributors, end users, customers around the country, submitted their, in their opinion, the Systems Integrator of the Year. And we have one of them with us today. We have Scott as customer and Cory Gunder from Control Systems Consultants from Terrell, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, on the show. And he is a young entrepreneurial type. He's a systems integrator of the highest magnitude. I'm on the website right now. I'd like to welcome Scott Twomey and Cory Gunder to the show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome, fellas.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you guys here as well. And so, Scott, real quick, let's start with you. Tell us a little about temperature controls out of Dallas, and then we're going to roll over. We're going to put up the big spotlight right there on Cory once we get done talking about you guys and what you do out in Dallas.
All right. Temperature Control Systems is a family-owned business that we're happy to say just finished at all of our locations, celebrating our 40th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it's quite a feat. We look forward to the next 40 and then 40 after that. But for now, we are a multi-level distribution firm handling Johnson Controls, Honeywellâ, Tridiumâ, KMC, EZIO, as well as your typical pneumatic and MRO stuff. Belimo, we're a Belimo Platinum distributor. We cover 4 states, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. Now, with the territory restrictions we have with some of those products, we have parts of some of those states, but we focus on Vicon for the 4. And Cory Gunder, who's here with me today, is not only one of my really good friends, but one of our wonderful customers we have here at Temperature Control Systems. And he does a bang-up job of supporting us and letting us support him and promoting products, just being true to form a partnership between contractor and distributor.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Cory, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, hey, just I guess sort of right out of the bat, I could ask, what it's like to work with Timmy, but we'll get to that later. But I know,
that's a long answer.
A long answer, but hey, it's never a dull moment, is it?
Not one.
Tell us about how you got started in the business.
I started when I was 16 years old. When I graduated, jumped in full time. Control Systems Consultants is also a family-owned company, founded in 1989. So I kind of grew up in it. I've been here full time again since I was 16. Started pulling wire in the field with all the other installing contractors. Slowly started picking up on the service side, getting into the programming side. Eventually in the engineering, and then ultimately now we're lead salesman.
Very, very,
awesome.
Very cool. Well, as Kenny said, it's quite an honor. I think we had over 80 systems integrators from around the world that had nomination votes, and you finished in the top 6. So that's got to feel pretty good.
I'm very humbled. I'm very happy to be there.
Well, I was just curious, in addition to your bio and your start, which is fabulous, 16 years old, how old are you right now, out of curiosity?
30 years old.
30 years
I'll tell you
old.
what,
So,
Kenny, that sounded like young gun material to me.
that's what I'm saying, Eric. And Cory, I want to let you know right off the bat that when we have these opportunities, we are looking for the industry's role models. We're looking for young guns, people that had started out early and now are very prominent and can demonstrate, what a great career field we're in. Even though it's kind of hard to describe, it's ubiquitous, and everybody probably doesn't understand exactly what we do for a living. Do again, reverse engineer kind of your career. You got started at your 16, and then now you grew. I'm on your website right now, and I can tell you, people need to go visit www.csc.com because it is an amazing website, and I got a feeling you're responsible for that incredible growth. That you have all the usual suspects. You got the Niagara X framework, you got all the automation, JCI, Honeywellâ, Spiders, Strykers, go DLM with watt stopper lighting. You guys do it all. So you assimilate all this talent in a short period of time. What, 14 years?
Yes. Again, whenever I first got started, I spent about 1.5 years in the field full time, doing nothing but stringing cables across ceilings, putting up conduit, terminating controllers, kind of just that firsthand field experience to get a firm possession of what it actually takes to put in a system. Since that time, I've had the opportunity to attend training classes. I was actually, I believe at the time, the youngest person to ever get a certification from Tridiumâ back in 2003 in the old R2 days. Again, since then, we've we've made a huge push on developing our own graphical system. We've made a huge push on developing a framework within the Niagara AX framework that's clean, that's easy to use, that's intuitive, and that encompasses all areas of automation.
Awesome.
Very cool. So listen, I don't know whether Scott told you the story why me and him and Kenny got in the controls industry, but it was because, Scott was an all-state quarterback. Kenny was in a rock band, and, I was just a goofball, but we did all these things. But it wasn't until we got in the controls business that we realized that the really beautiful, smart, intelligent women are attracted to controls guys. So we got in it for those reasons, right, Scott?
Amen, brother.
Yeah, that's certainly what I found.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for any of our people out there who are thinking about joining our industry, that's one good reason, man, is, you get to go to a bar and a girl says, "What do you do?" You say, "Well, I'm the guy who can heat you up when you're cold and cool you down when you're overheated," right?
That's right. Chicks dig a guy with a dongle.
Yeah. That's good stuff, Scott. Well, but Cory, and one of the youngest guys get trained on R2. I mean, you've obviously seen a lot of changes in the industry. Mm-hmm. For our listeners out there, I mean, from your guys' philosophical standpoint, what makes a great systems integrator, and what makes your company maybe different than some of the other integrators they're used to dealing with?
I strongly believe in the absolute biggest propellant for us, for our growth the last 3 or 4 years has been keying in on the idea of partnership, where we are a small independent control system integrator. So we do not have the resources of a full system branch, like a Johnson branch, like a Honeywell, like a Siemens, what have you. They have a large corporation behind them. We don't have that advantage. So what we do is we focus in on our relationships with our suppliers, with mechanicals that we do business with. We try to identify holes in the market that maybe, even though it's always our preference to do a full system implementation where we take care of the install, we take care of the programming, the graphics, and then the service agreement, that's not always a number one priority. We've had great success partnering with other mechanical companies that are service-based and essentially doing their implementation for them, creating a branded Niagara framework graphical system for them and turn it over to them so that they can take over service for their customers. We've had enormous advantage as well. We have a top-notch graphics and engineering department. We actually have 3 full-time guys that all they do is sit there and create 3D images all day long. And so we've been able to take that and also go towards other control companies that maybe are at the place where they don't have a full engineering division. And so we can kind of step in, help them develop on their engineering and their graphical side so that they can chase larger customers.
It makes a lot of sense, Cory. Kenny and I have been following, one of the trends we've been following is this concept of co-competition. With maybe somebody you compete with yesterday, today you are, working together. And it seems like certain people are really getting that and some other people are maybe not. And we're kind of seeing or thinking that maybe the lone wolves that are out there, they're trying to take it all and stomp their competition, are probably not going to be surviving. So it sounds like you guys have embraced that concept. And it sounds like if I'm an integrator in Texas and maybe I don't have expertise in graphics, I could reach out to you guys. You guys could come in and maybe do the graphics part of that job for me, sort of be invisible to the customer, if you will, but allow me to provide a solution I might not otherwise have the capacity to do in-house. Is that sort of a fair assessment?
100%. Absolutely. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is just trying to identify ways that, to your point, a company that in certain circumstances we might be competing with them in certain buildings, or we can embrace a partnership and increase everybody's volume on both sides by keying in on what our skill sets are. My skill set is implementation, is graphics, and is engineering. I can partner with a mechanical firm that is strong in service, that knows how to take care of their customers, and we can put them in a position to offer their customers a full complement of system integration options. And again, that partnership also goes back to the relationship that we have with Temperature Control Systems.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, guys, because and as you know, Kenny and I are very much like Scott, are distributors, quote unquote middlemen. Now, and some people just don't get what we do, and you obviously with your skill set, you could pretty much be working with any vendor you wanted to, but yet you're working through a distributor. Talk a bit about why you do that.
Well, frankly, I mean, I have no desire to wait out there in the world by myself without any backup. And partnering with Temperature Control Systems, it's not just somebody that we buy parts from, which is what we would be if I was a direct line contractor for any number of control manufacturers. By having a strong partnership with our parts supplier, it puts us in a position where we can confidently move out there in the market, chase jobs that we may not be sure that we were capable of a year ago, but now we have that confidence and we have the full backing from our supplier because we know that we have their full support.
Very, very well said. And Scott, from you've been around the industry a long time, like Kenny and I have. And Kenny, I'm going to let you ask the next question, I promise, but this is just good stuff. You've seen a lot of changes. I mean, you see manufacturers that go direct, and I mean, there are pros and cons to that. As a matter of fact, several of our finalists are, factory direct integrators. But when you look at the value that you try to create, I think Cory did a great job explaining it. But so what are some of the things you bring to somebody? So if you've got a customer out there who wants to get in the building automation business, or maybe he already is in the building automation business, and he's going, why would I want to come to Temperature Controls? And as Cory said, yeah, you got that partnership, you got the backup. Speak specifically about what a full service distributor like Temperature Control Systems out of Dallas does for integrators.
Okay, so what we feel anyway is we have a phenomenal leads program that we provide our systems integrators. And what I mean by that is, if you're a systems integrator, let's say you have 2 outside salespeople on the road and they're covering the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, I've got 26 full-time salespeople that are constantly in front of an end user that's just looking to purchase a pneumatic thermostat or a replacement diaphragm or anything. And the conversation can roll any direction at once, and any one of my 26 folks takes a lead, brings it back in-house, and we farm it back out to our systems integrators. They all follow up on that lead, and at that point, may the best man or woman win. We're here to equally support all of our systems integrators, and they all know that when we bring them a job, we bring it to them as a whole. Cory knows if I ever give him a lead, I'm giving it to several other people as well. And at that point, we are here to, without any bias, support all of you. That's what we see our role as, more of a nurturing, helpful role than we do as a fulfillment center, if you will.
Very well said, Scott. Very well said. Yeah, Cory, I got to tell you, one of our biggest costs is, cost of sales, and that's got to be a huge value. I know we do something very similar in Atlanta, Scott. We've got people out there trying to create the market and create demand. I know Kenny does as well. So that's something that has got to be a huge plus, I'm guessing.
It is. It's an enormous value, and then also to touch on that just a little bit more, because by going through distribution, it also completely removes any territory restrictions on my part. Nice. So I'm completely free to go anywhere in the United States that I would like. To that point, we've had the opportunity to partner with a great guy up north called Tony Taramina Jr., and we actually have the opportunity to start a branch up in New York about 2 years ago. That's actually taken off quite a bit quicker than I was expecting.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, on that line, co-opetition is great, and the new paradigm is that you come together and do virtual business, and everybody benefits because you increase the size of the market. But Cory, let me ask you, what has been your favorite project? I was on your website and I saw some of these very, very prominent buildings, but there's got to be one that's your favorite, where you cut your teeth on, or that you just, of all the jobs that you've done in projects, that's the biggest or largest or most important integration. Tell us about one of your favorite projects.
It's hard to pick one specifically because there's been so many, but just to pull from recent history, First United Methodist Church in downtown Dallas. It's a very historic site. It's been there over 100 years, and they have. We just finished about 6 to 7 months ago a full-scale integration of an existing Stathis system, of an existing reliable system, as well as adding controls to a frankly decrepit 2-pipe multi-zone system
Awesome.
throughout their campus.
Love to hear it.
All right, so Cory, my next question for you is I notice you handle Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Vicon. Speak, if you will, a little bit. So now you get an opportunity to do a commercial. So you got owners and users from all around the world that tune into Control Trends that might not be using Johnson Controls. I want you to take a minute, put your Johnson hat on, tell them why Johnson's great, then put your Honeywell hat on, why Honeywell's great, and then put your Vicon hat on, tell them why Vicon's great.
Okay, well, to start off, we've been focused on Johnson again since we've been founded in 1989. That's the line that we're most comfortable with. We've been able to roll with the punches as through their distribution line. They've changed courses a couple times. The path that they're on right now is the most excited I've been with their product in 5-6 years. It's a complete duplication of what the branch uses. It's called the Facility Explorer, and it's the PCV line. And what we love about it is that the programming inherently is canned, but you have the complete ability to dive in and make whatever custom changes you would like to the canned programs. So it allows our technicians to quickly and easily create a reasonably complicated program from scratch, and then from that point to kind of to dial into the code itself and make what adjustments are needed.
Okay, now let's move to the big red, Honeywell. Honeywell is also up for the System of the Year and several other awards. Talk a bit about Honeywell. What do you like about Honeywell as a systems integrator?
Well, from top to bottom, it's probably the most cleanly integrated into the Niagara frameworks, the Niagara AX framework, meaning that just from the tool itself, you can dive in, you can do whatever custom programming you need to for any specific VAV, for any specific air handler, and it's all available from one single tool set. So it also keeps our technicians from jumping around to multiple programs that they can show up with their laptop or dial in remotely, and all functionality and anything that needs to be changed within the system is available from one single platform. And it's just fantastic to use.
Well, that's great to hear. I know Honeywell's going to appreciate that endorsement. And then, of course, Vicon. Do we even need to talk about Vicon? They seem like they're right at the center of it all. Without Vicon, none of the wheels go around, do they?
That is the core of everything that we are built on. It's what enables us to walk into any building. And basically our sales pitch is, because we're not proprietary, you hold the keys to this relationship. We have to prove ourselves anytime we want to begin any kind of implementation, any kind of integration, because Vicon is non-proprietary. And anybody that's willing to buy into the program has availability. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of contractors in the DFW area alone that puts us in a position of making an easy case to any number of owners to say, look, we're not here to pull one over. If we don't perform, you have an ocean of opportunities out there that you can use instead of us. So it puts the pressure on us to perform and to do a good job.
So Kenny, there you go, man. Guys, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time. Cory, good luck to you. To our listeners out there, please take a minute and vote. If you like what you see with Cory, he'd appreciate your vote. Hey, if you happen to be in Texas and you're looking for a distributor that can take care of you, definitely check out Temperature Control Systems and out of Dallas. Scott, I think it's temperaturecontrolsystems.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Cool, you got that. And then Cory, you heard it. If you're an integrator, and I guess pretty much anywhere in the world, Cory, but check those guys out. If you need somebody to sort of fill in a little bit, help you on some of your projects, I think you've got a good choice with Cory. Nice looking guy. He can help you with that initial objective about getting into the controls industry, attracting attractive women. So if he's on one of your jobs, you're probably going to get a second look, if not from the chief engineer, at least from the secretaries in the office. So guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Kenny, that was really good stuff. So, hey, we got a couple more posts and we'll call it a wrap. What do we have up next, big dog?
All right, next up we have Johnson Control releases a new thermostat. And Well, they did their homework. This TEC3000 line of standalone and communicating field selectable BACnet or N2 thermostats are now available from a local distributor near you. This is a pretty thermostat. I mean, they did their homework. I love the, how much work and time goes into, just the way it looks, the feel, the aesthetic aspect of it on a wall. They just did a great job. The very large print, 4.2 inch backlit LED touchscreen allows for easy and fast configuration. The fact that it's N2 BACnet out of the box enables a very, very simple migration from an N2 or BACnet MSTP by switching the communication protocol. And then every model has a USB port, faster configuration and uploading and downloading of all the thermostat settings. So Johnson Controls has made it very, very simple. And they also put some protection in there. You can choose to set a 4-digit password to prevent tampering. There's 74 models of thermostats now being reduced to 20 models. And the most embedded occupancy or humidity sensor models decreased in price significantly. So well done, Johnson Controls.
Yeah, well done, JCI, another platinum sponsor for the 2015 Control Trends Awards and up for several categories. So check the voting ballots out. If you like what you see, vote for JCI. Kenny, what was our final post of the week, buddy?
All righty. Honeywell LNS plugin for the Stryker VAV controllers. They're making a great product even better because they've taken, they're pleased to announce the availability of the Stryker VAV LNS plugin 2.3.0. So some new and existing VAS installations utilizing lawn-mark devices may use general-purpose tools that utilize an LNS plugin director, such as Echelon's LawnMaker integration tool. This plugin allows simplified configuration of the launch Stryker VAV devices within a plug-in director. So great stuff. We're talking the CVL 4022AS VAV1 and the 4022NS-VAV1, two of the largest selling VAV controllers in the markets, and it just made a really good product better.
So very, very cool, Kenny. Well, there you go, man. Another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings, VideoCast and podcast. My name is Eric Stromquist. He is Ken Smyers, the man, the myth, the legend. A very special thanks to our guests this week, John D. Morris, Ken Sinclair, AutomatedBuildingsâ.com, the one to only Scott Twomey from Temperature Control Systems out of Dallas, Texas, and of course, Cory Gunder from CSC. So with that, Kenny, I will say have a great week, and remember, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. Cool.